Metals and non-metals. Physical properties. If you take a copper vessel, you will see that it has a luster or a shine. It is also quite hard. Aluminium is shiny and hard too. So are gold and silver. But if you observe sulfur powder or coal, it doesn't have hardness and it doesn't have any shine. Scientists made an extensive study of a lot of materials found on Earth. They found that they could classify materials into two groups. These two groups were metals and non-metals. We will now study some physical and chemical properties of metals and non-metals. Let's now study the physical properties of metals and non-metals. Metals are very useful materials. They are strong, tough, and hard. Metals can be shaped into anything, right from a tiny paper clip to a huge aircraft. Metals are good conductors of heat, so they are used to make cooking utensils. Metals are good conductors of electricity, so they are used to make wires and electric equipment. Metals are also shiny. Some very shiny metals like gold and silver are used to make jewelry. Metals are malleable. It means metals can be deformed under pressure. The shape of metals can be changed by applying pressure to it. Because of this property of metals, we can bend them into so many different shapes. Since metals are malleable, they can be flattened into thin sheets by hammering or rolling. What happens if you try to beat a piece of charcoal? It'll break down to become powder. Charcoal is a non-metal. Charcoal is not malleable. What did we just learn? Malleability is the property by which substances can be deformed into thin sheets by applying some force. Malleability is a property of metals. Non-metals do not exhibit the property of malleability. Ductility is the property of a material to be drawn into a wire. You get bars of the metal which are quite thick. The wires that we use are quite thin. The bar is cut to give it a point. Then the point is pushed through a hole for a smaller diameter. The wire that comes out has a thinner diameter than the bar. Watch the video and you'll get a better idea. See how it's done. Platinum and gold are famous for their ductility. With platinum, you can make wires that are as thin as a human hair. Well, since we can't even beat charcoal into a sheet, drawing it into a wire is impossible, right? So, again, ductility is for metals and not for non-metals. Metal utensils like copper, iron, and aluminium are used for cooking food. Why do we use these to cook food? Is it because they make the food tasty? No. Is it because they do not melt when kept on the gas? Yes, that is one reason. What is the other reason? It is because the vessels are good conductors of heat. Good conductors means that when one side of the metal is heated, the other side heats up too. It would be no good if the outside of the vessel heated up and the inside of the vessel remained cool, would it? Almost all metals are good conductors of heat. Non-metals, on the other hand, are mostly poor conductors of heat. If you ever open a wire which is used for electric purposes, you will see that has some shiny metal inside. This shiny metal is mostly copper or sometimes aluminium. This is because copper and aluminium are good conductors of electricity. In fact, most metals are good conductors of electricity, while almost all non-metals are bad conductors of electricity. Conductors of electricity are also used many times in high-rise buildings to trap lightning bursts and send them to the ground. These conductors are made of copper. Have you ever seen a drummer play on the cymbals? What are these cymbals made up of? Metal. If you have attended any aarti during the Ganpati festival, you surely must have heard the sound of the ghanti. What is the bell made of? Metal. Don't metals produce a nice ringing sound? I love that sound. Metals produce a nice ringing sound when hit with something. This is called the sonorous property of metals. Metals are sonorous, which means they produce a ringing sound. Silver is the most sonorous metal. This ringing sound does not happen with non-metals, so non-metals are not sonorous. Metals are usually in the solid state at room temperature, while non-metals can be in any of the three states: solid, liquid, or gaseous. There is, however, one exception of the element of mercury, which is in liquid state at room temperature. A point to remember: if you ever lay your hands on mercury, wash them thoroughly, as it's very poisonous. The density of a material is defined as its mass per unit volume. Usually, metals are denser than non-metals. Let's conclude with the physical properties of metals by saying that all that glitters is not gold. Why did I say that? Because a diamond glitters, but is it gold? No, it's not even a metal.